Language development is another interesting area which involves the development of language in human beings from birth to adolescence. We all know that children are not born silent. They produce various sounds, they make sucking noises, they cry, they burp, and they make various noises from birth. So they have a certain kind of linguistic faculty right from the beginning. Let's have a quick look at an outline of the development of language in human beings. Here we could see that at birth they cry, and right from birth they start doing it. While they are at about 6 weeks, they start cooing, and at 16 weeks they start to laugh, and then from 16 weeks to 6 months they are engaged in some kind of vocal play which involves making speech-like sounds. And in such speech-like sounds we could see that vowels emerge before consonants. Later on, when they are at a stage of 6 to 9 months, they start babbling, which is distinguished from vocal play by the presence of true syllables, consonants plus vowels, and they are often repeated. Infant might start noticing that particular strings of sounds co-occur with particular situations. For example, whenever the sound mummy are heard, mother is there. So young kids start noticing this. Then at the age of about 10 or 11 months, they produce their first words, which also form single word utterances. Then at the age of 18 months, there is a rapid explosion in vocabulary size. Their vocabulary size increases rapidly, and around this time, two-word sentences also emerge. For example, they could say mama a, mama ja. So they are able to produce two-word sentences. Then they learn about 40 words a week at this stage. Then at the age of 2 years to 6 months, the child produces increasingly complex sentences, and a grammatical development occurs at this stage. We could find a mature speech at the age of about 10 years. But that doesn't mean that is the final form of speech development in a kid or a human being. The process of learning carries on, and we could see that a teenager learns almost 10 new words every day. Research in language development is a very difficult task because it's very difficult to have controlled experiments on human beings who have different capacities for language development, because we know all individuals may not have the same capacity or ability for developing a certain language, or may not have the similar circumstances to develop a certain language. So because of such variations in human beings, we could understand that the investigation into the process of the development of human language may be very difficult. Moreover, as I said earlier, the variation between different children involved in experiments make the life of researcher even more difficult. We find some longitudinal studies in this regard who investigate the development of human language with various involvements of various periods in the development, but overall these studies have been marred by the involvement of very few number of children. They could not, because of a natural limitation, they could not involve many children in such studies. Therefore, the results of such studies may not be that reliable as they have been contested by many researchers. There could be some other key arguments in relation to the language development among human beings. For example, we could say that a popular argument about the innateness of the language ability of human beings is very prominent. Some people believe that humans have an innate ability to learn or produce a certain language, and we usually call them rationalists. They believe that certain fundamental ideas are innate, and they are there in the minds of children right from their birth. In comparison, the empiricists believe that knowledge is derived from experience, and developing an analogy from this, we could say that human beings develop their language through experience. So they learn from what they hear from the society. And this brings in the importance of linguistic output from the society. And one of the important questions in this regard could be that how far the knowledge of language within a human being is dependent on what he or she hears from his surroundings. Overall, we could say that the term the knowledge of language itself is very vague, because it involves many internal, subconscious mental representations which are still to be explained properly. In this regard, Chomsky comes up with the idea of universal grammar and acquisition device within human mind, and he believes that humans are born with an innate ability to produce certain sentences creatively. So, overall, we do not have final answers to many questions in the sphere of language development, and this requires a lot of research which may be conducted in future.